Hello everybody, I'm Dan. Welcome to my Android tutorial series. This is part 2 of creating the shopping list app, which concentrates on the ArrayList class, or demonstrates the ArrayList Java class. I'm going to pull up my website here, javacjava.com, select Menu and Android Tutorials. And then I'll select the shopping list part 2 tutorial. Now in this tutorial, I will place an icon on the top action bar that will add new items to our list. Google has a great set of icons freely available for download that you can use in your app. They are located basically at this URL here. I'm going to use the Add Circle outline for the icon to add a new item. Let's get started. Click on that link there that I provided, and we're going to scroll down here amongst all these icons to the Add Circle outline, and that's what I want right there. When we click on that, this will come up here. I'm going to select white. And I'm going to select 48 dp, and that's basically what the icon will look for. Then I'm going to select the PNGs and then open with Windows Explorer. Alright, I think I'm done with that. Let's go ahead and drag this off screen here, time being, and come over here, click on this, and then we've got basically 3 different formats: Android, iOS, or web. Click on the Android and we're going to see 5 folders. Click Shift, click on the first one, hold down the Shift key, click on the last one to highlight them all, and then you can release the Shift key, right click, and select Copy. Okay, now the reason why we have 5 folders here is inside of each one of those folders we've got that little plus icon there, and basically, you know, for the history of Android, when Android devices first came out, they had really crappy resolution screens, you know, as did iPhone and everything else for the time. Now that the screen resolutions are much larger and much higher density and everything like that, you need different sizes of icons in order for them to display so they're not pixelated and you know, just so they display as nicely as possible. All right, let's go and open up the shopping list app where we were at last time there, and what I'm going to do is click on this res folder here, right? And then I'm going to right click on it and do show in Explorer. Okay. Now in the res folder, we're going to double click on that, and then we're just going to right click anywhere in the white space and select paste. So we get all of those drawable various different formats in there. Okay. Now if we come over here to res and we do synchronize res, we now have this drawable folder here with a pop it, and then if we expand the tree there, we can see we've got you know, these various different icons. That's what this one, for example, is: 192 by 192, 144. So various different resolutions on the pixel height and width there. All right, that's about all I'm going to do as far as talking about that. So let's go ahead and close out of this and close out of that. Let's come over here, and the first thing I want to do is just highlight the source code for the import stuff there. I'm going to hit Control-C to copy, or right-click and select copy. And we are going to paste that into the main activity. So make sure you got the main activity Java tab highlighted up top here. And we're going to come up here and expand the little plus next to the import statements and just paste that in there. All right, so let's go ahead and create our little, actually let's go ahead and come up here and we'll just run this real quick here. So bring that up to where we were last time. And while that's coming up, we'll come back over here and we're going to select this next section of source code here. Highlight that, Control-C to copy, or right-click and select copy. And what we want to do is we want to actually expand the little plus here, right? And then we'll go into the menu_main.xml. All right, so in the last tutorial, we added this menu item sort, which was part of that little drop down there. So we had settings and sort, and that is this right over here, settings and sort. But what I want to do is I want to add my little plus right here on the action bar. So let's hit enter over here, and we'll Control-V or right click to paste that stuff in there. And we're going to do our action add. All right, so we need a string resource for action add. So we're going to expand the values tree here, go into strings XML. Let's just put one in here real quick. Action add, and we'll give that a value of add You won't actually see that, but it requires it as part of its structure. All right, so the ID for this is called action add. And now what you'll see is this drawable right here, at drawable. And then IC add circle outline white 48dp is in fact, basically the name of that particular resource there. And it'll automatically choose what we need it based on the screen resolution there. And then show as action, when that's set to never, that forces it into this little expandable drop-down list there. If we say if room, it'll go ahead and display that on there. All right, so let's go ahead and start the run on this again here. And while that's doing its thing here, let's come over to the next set of source code here, which will allow us to build. So we're going to highlight all of this here. Control-C to copy. And then we're going to go back here to our main activity. All right, so you can see over here in our shopping list, right? We've got this plus here now, and if we click on it, nothing happens because there's nothing tied to it, right? So over here we've got checking to see if our ID is equal to settings, or checking to see if our ID equals to sort. So let's go ahead and drop in a new one here. If ID equals, boy, if I could type today. ID dot, we want this action add. Let's go ahead and hit Control V, and then let's return true. All right. So what we've got here is, if we click on the add, it's going to create an alert dialog, right? An alert dialog is similar. Well, basically, it's going to bring up a little form kind of right in the middle of everything, right, to the foreground, and display basically the title add item. And we're going to have an edit text. An edit text will allow us to type into it. And then we're going to have a positive button that says OK, or a cancel button, right, for adding the new item. Now, when we click OK on it, it will go ahead and get the text from the edit text. The input is basically the reference variable on that, right? It'll invoke the getText method in toString. Now, I've got this, what I want is I really want this particular app to have its formatting not as, like, for example, uppercase or lowercase. I want this first letter of every word to be capitalized. And that's because when we sort a list, right, capitalization does matter for the list, right? If we click on sort list there, if we had, for example, lowercase a, it would actually be down like under yogurt because of that sort of sort there. All right, so what I've done is I've written a quick method here called, where are we? Preferred case. So we'll come over here and highlight the preferred case method, Control-C to copy, so you don't want to see me type all this stuff in. And we will just simply come down here and paste this in there. So preferred case returns back a string, and it takes in a string. So the original, right, let's say for example, it's empty. We're just going to return back the original string there. So if it's not empty, then it'll go ahead and return the substring, right, which is the first character to uppercase plus the rest of the string to lowercase. So that's all this simple little method does here. All right, let's go ahead and compile it, or run this now. And so basically, after we get back that, right, when they click on the OK button there, right, we'll invoke the add method from the shopping list array reference variable there, right, which will add that value to it. I'll call the collections.sort again, and then we'll set the adapter there, and the list view will update there. All right, so let's go ahead, and for now we'll just sort the list, and then let's click on plus and add item. And we'll go ahead and put in like bacon. And then click OK. All right, so there we go. So bacon got inserted right exactly where we wanted it. All right, so I like that. Okay, so with the add there, that's basically how that'll work. Now we have to do a few more things there. We obviously don't want this to load up this particular list every time we go through. So let's give it a clear list functionality there. All right. So what I'm going to do is go back to our menu item here, right? And let's just highlight this sort and hit Control C. And then we'll paste this right underneath there. And instead of sort, we'll just call this clear. We'll give this a 300 and we'll point it at a string resource saying action clear. And of course, never will force it over into here, right? All right, let's go into our strings and put in an action clear. Good enough there. All right, so now we have that. Let's go back to our main activity here. So we got our settings, our sort, and our add. I'm just gonna go ahead and come down here now and do if ID equals ID.action clear. Right, we are going to do our shopping list dot clear, invoke the clear method there from the array list class, and that will basically clear all that out. There's no reason to, for example, call collections dot sort because it's empty, right? But we will go ahead and, of course, reset the adapter on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that little portion of this now. Oh, you know what? I want to do one other thing before we actually click on that. We always want to display a message saying, you know, are you sure you want to clear this thing here? So I've got another alert dialog down here. So let's come down here to this one right here, Control C to copy, or right click and select copy. Make sure you selected the one that has, you know, clear entire list down here on this source code. So before we don't want to actually clear it here. So I'm just going to go ahead and highlight that and then hit Control V to paste. And that will give us a title of clear entire list. You'll notice I didn't add in like a text view or anything like that. I set the positive button equal to yes, the negative equal to no. If they select yes, it'll just basically clear it and then set the list view adapter. So there's no reason to do that. However, we do need to return true here. Okay. All right, now let's run that. And while that's building, let's talk about or loading up here. And let's talk about what we're going to do next there. We're basically comment on all the preloaded stuff there, and then we'll do some other stuff on that. All right, so let's go ahead and clear our list, right? Clear the entire list. If we select no, nothing happens. If we select yes, it's all gone. All right, let's go ahead and add in an item, and let's put in an apple. And we'll do apples, we'll do plural, and we'll do milk, right? Okay, we've got a couple items in our list. Now, what happens if we close out of our app and we go back into it? Well, what will happen is the onCreate always fires whenever the onCreate method always fires whenever your app is loaded or it comes out of, like, for example, sleep, and there's a few more scenarios there too as well. So over here on the emulator, if we hit the little back thing there to back out of our app, right? And then we come up here and, oh, that's grocery list. That was the wrong one. We want shopping list. Okay, here's shopping list. All right. Sorry, let me back out of it all the way there. All right, shopping list. Okay, so you see, it comes back up with what we had originally. So what we had in there with bacon and milk is just, it's cleared out, right? So, you know, we could clear this list We can keep adding to it as many times as we want to. We're always going to lose whatever we have in this list every time we close out of the app and restart it up, right? So that's not good there. So let's go ahead and comment this, comment this, comment this, and comment this. And I'm going to bring back over my source code here. So I'm going to highlight these two methods here. This one's called store array val, and this one's called get array val. And I'll explain how exactly these work here in just a second. Control C to copy, or right click and select copy. I'm going to move this off screen here. I'm going to come down here and put it underneath my preferred case method there. Control V to paste. All right, shared preferences. I forgot to put a few things back in there. All right, basically I hit Alt Enter, so that put these import statements somewhere up here. There we go, context shared preferences. All right, so now those are all good to go here. So every time we add something to the array list, we need to somehow store it. You know, and if you're working in Java, you might store something, for example, to like a file. And I haven't really talked about file input output too much, you know. You might have it stored to an SQL database. You might have it stored to some sort of, you know, well, basically storage, some sort of database or file, right? In Android, they have what's called shared preferences. So shared preferences allow you to store an application's, well, basically their state, right? So the shared preferences, it will, we'll be able to store our array into basically a state that it can always pull it back out of later on. Never goes away there. So the store array value will basically take two arguments here. And the array list, right? And then the context. Don't worry about the context. Context has everything to do with Android, has nothing to do with Java. And when we write the shared preferences, when we write to the shared preferences database, we have to do it as a Java set. Now I haven't covered set yet, but set is part of the collections framework there. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm doing set, and then what to write is basically a reference variable. I'm using the hash set, which I haven't gone over to as well, but that is a subclass of the set, which is a subclass of collection. And then I'm basically creating a set type object, hash set specifically, out of our array list that I'm passing in. And then I can actually write that to Android's, we'll just call it their solid state memory there, right? That's basically what it is. Now when we want to get that, we can basically call the get array value, and that returns an array list. We pass in the same context here. And don't worry about that. But basically we're going to use shared preferences, and we're going to get our set back out of that same solid state memory there, right? And return an array list. Okay, so let's come up here and add in, we'll invoke the store array here right after we add, let's see, where are we at? Right here. You know, maybe we'll store it. I'm going to do this right here. So store array value, right? And we're going to be storing our shopping list. And basically just invoke this get application context method here. Okay, so that's going to store our array list into, basically we'll just say like solid state memory there. Okay, now when we come up here, instead of doing a new array list, as a matter of fact, what we'll set shopping list equal to is invoke the get array value, okay? And then we're just passing get application context is basically, I don't know, think of it as like a handle to the current object, but don't worry about that. That's way further down the road. But just know that anytime this onCreate fires, which is when the app first fires up, or when, for example, it you know, the screen times out and then you power it back on or whatnot and the app's forward, it'll always call this on create. So we'll always be loading in our array value there, right? And so let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so you can see shopping list is empty, right? Because when it invoked the, where are we? When it invoked the get array val, there was nothing in there, right? So let's go ahead and add something in, and let's just add back in apples. And let's add milk. And let's add bacon. Okay, now let's go ahead and back out of our app. We'll go ahead and start it back up and shopping list. And as you can see, we got milk, apples, bacon. Okay, so what do we need to do? We probably just need to sort it after we do this here, right? So let's invoke collections.sort. And shopping list. All right, let's go ahead and run that. And I think that's really probably about all I'm going to do with this particular tutorial. And maybe we'll clean it up a little bit. Maybe we'll clean it up in the next tutorial. We'll add a little remove function too on that as well there. Okay, so there we go. So now we got it sorted. Everything is, of course, in the format that I wanted it there. Let's see. So, for example, if I put in, let's do all uppercase. And let's do, like, for example, Coke. Test that on there. All right, yep, we're all good there. We close out of our app, we fire it back up. Apples, bacon, Coke, milk, everything's in alphabetical order, looking good there. Okay, well, that will pretty much do it for this tutorial. Yep, I think that'll do it. So yeah, in the next tutorial, we'll go through, and I think what I'm going to do is, like, for example, if you click on these or you tap on them on your finger on a real phone there, it'll bring up another alert dialog prompting you to remove these from the list. And then we'll clean this up a little bit, get rid of this guy down here, so on and so forth there. So you'll have kind of a generic little shopping list functioning thingamajig there. Okay, well anyway, that concludes this tutorial. Thanks for watching.